have here before you my trusty little sketchbook, which actually has still some blank pages in it. I'm not really sure when I got this, maybe about a year ago, so I haven't been too diligent about using it. I have been drawing though, and I shared quickly on my YouTube post some of my, I guess, sugar skull pictures. And I shared if you guys would like to see a collage of something like this. I want to do it. I think it'll be fun. These were just like fluorescent highlight markers. I was kind of bored at work and I just added some color to this one. I really like the way that's looking. The first one I did though, and the one that I shared here on YouTube, was this image. I didn't want to take it out of the sketchbook just to keep my stuff organized, but I did because I needed to scan it. I did not want to work with the original image. And here we have a scan of this, so I can save the original because I signed it. That's important. I do a lot of collages, you all see, but I always enjoyed drawing and I always go back to that. So this is again a collage drawing. Now, what I will share, and I feel kind of funny sharing this, but I find, interestingly enough, that when I do collages of my drawings, I don't get a lot of views. I don't get a lot of interest generated from it, and it baffles me a bit. But the bottom line is I like doing it. I like making collages out of my drawings. And whatever I do here, I would have been doing anyway with or without the camera being on. I'm simply sharing with you my weekly passage of time of my favorite thing to do of all time, which is collage and draw. So regardless of how many views this gets, if it gets any, it doesn't matter. I believe most artists, we do things simply because we get that wonderful endorphin rush, and the process and the time spent is the best. So I'm going to do a collage of this skull. A sugar skull? I don't know. It's still July. I don't know when this video is going to post. So we're a little ways off from Halloween, which I love, Day of the Dead. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I've been drawing skulls. I don't know what that means, but it does mean this week you're getting a collage drawing. My plan is to give this skull a really good basis. So I'm obviously cutting this part out, but I want to keep this for reference. And I keep this nearby for even more reference. And I'm going to build it upward using, I have all sorts of gray and white ephemera to use. And that's just going to be, again, just the foundation. I think what I want to do, what my little wish for this is to come back in with embellishments and build them up, find any sort of embellishment, and I'm not sure. I was thinking again of my favorite thing, which is using stamps. I was thinking about using stamps. And I have a little packet here. I think I was already considering this skull project. I have those security envelopes. Really cool. I don't know if I'll use them. I have a lot of, for the foundation, that is. I also have other design elements I may want to use. So I'm going to play around with it. It doesn't all have to be the same color or shade of gray, if you will. I use something like this in one part and something like this in the other. And I'll get back to work. classic case of deviating from the original design for the sake of my sanity, but also to keep it looking good. I don't want to just do hole punches, although I have nothing against hole punches, but I can't find my hole puncher because I was thinking about doing something of a hole punch for this crazy eye I got going on here. So here's obviously our original drawing, using the Xerox copy for a template to cut up, and I'm just, I refer back to the original. And I'm looking at this and I wanted to have a black background because that's what I have going on here. And I thought about, just cutting out a little tiny piece of something, but nothing's really looking sharp to me. So I went ahead, I grabbed this magazine that I got last week when I was in San Diego, had a great time. That's another video. And I saw something I really want to use, this little bit of a watch. I think this will be strong for the eye. So yes, it is kind of deviating from my original design. I wanted to maintain the integrity of that as much as possible. But again, for the sake of the collage, I don't mind going on a little bird walk and experimenting and seeing what else might work. After all, it is a collage, so I want to use other types of ephemera. It doesn't all have to be cut out paper. It can be objects. I just hadn't planned that really for this. Although we have some stars on this skull, so I thought, oh, maybe I can find some star imagery and stay with that as well. So this is how it came out. Yeah, it's bigger. It's actually almost the size of this entire space. And I would just put it here. How does that look? Probably hard to see with the camera so far away. I almost feel like I want to give it a black background. Now I'm using packing tape as my adhesive. If I do something like this where I have the black background, kind of shadow this, we need to use glue. So let's go ahead and do that. I think it'll look a lot stronger and it'll pop out more if it has just barely a black outline on top of this. Originally, that's what I planned. I cut this area out and thought that that'll look good. I could find something small enough. I mean, I could cut it a little bit smaller, but I don't really want to do that. So let me go ahead, glue this on, and put it on my skull. Returning to the scene of the crime the next day, I did a little more work. I am using a very pleasant yet simple gray, adding it to give some contrast. And this is the kind of background I like to give more oomph to those things I feel will be more of a focal point. So I'm playing again with the little Seiko watcha that I used here, and also with these shutter images from an old camera instruction book. Thought I would add it to this eye, give it a little bit more of a frame, so to speak. So using the Seiko watch and this bit of a frame, I also found this was from a statue, image of a statue, and I want to add it also. So I've been playing with this completely off camera and saving little tiny bits here and there because I want to implement them again. I like bringing that other ephemera back into the image. This also was from that same watch ad. Did some very fussy cutting and continuing with more fussy cutting. No, I'm not going to get a complete circle, but I'm going to try my best. One thing I notice about doing a collage drawing of one of my drawings is ultimately I'm still drawing. My cutting is like drawing. This is my new pencil. And that's what makes it kind of fun too. And it still has that, the human touch, so to speak. So I was going to do something like this. I don't like how this is such a straight point. Ooh, I like how the skull eye, this eye came out. I kind of like that. Okay, I'll think about it. So I wanted to cover it up with this circular image. And I want to maintain, again, as close to my original ink drawing as possible. Something to compare it with later. And then I wanted to put this foot, like, out here. I'm going to cut this part off. In fact, let's do that right now. There's no need for it. And we definitely have a nice monochromatic thing going on here with our skull. But there's more work that I think I want to do. I could change my mind later. I want to come back and put in other little elements. As I'm cutting, I am keeping pieces together to see where my work is because I need to refer back to it, knowing that, oh, I had a little dot here, I had a star here. How am I going to work on that? How's that going to happen? And I can play with it, or I can leave it alone. I could finish the base here and decide that I don't want to go any further. I don't know. It might be enough. It's actually kind of looking like enough, but that wasn't my original intention, so we'll see. And we haven't even began tackling the teeth yet. That'll be interesting too. All of this that I'm setting up now is unfortunately going to rely on the Mod Podge. I can't use the packing tape for this unless I cut through the back, and I kind of don't want to do that. So I need to go get my glue set up and finish this collage, or the foundation, the base of the collage, and have a new skull going on. Lot of work off camera. I was cutting out teeth and cutting out this tongue. And this harkens back to the way I used to do collage, which was cut out the image and paste it on instead of using my packing tape. I used a lot of adhesive that way. And there's a little bubbling going on this tongue. It's not too bad. Once we get it into Photoshop, it won't be anything terrible. I can actually edit that out and make it pretty. And it doesn't look too bad right now. But I want you to maybe see, well, it's really hard to see. Like right here, there's a little bit of glue that's smeared on this very dark background. Now, this isn't quite black. I chose an indigo color. I think it was, originally I was going to go with this black, but on the other side was this beautiful dark blue. And I chose it because now it's going to draw out the blue in this star. So it's a nice complement of bringing in these different colors. I want to start bringing in color. And these teeth, I decided to make them darker. I was originally going to go light, but too light for the tongue. One of these teeth are actually kind of light, and you can still see it. But most of the teeth are dark. Maybe he should have gone to the dentist. I don't know. But that pink tongue is a nice contrast to our teeth. And I'm liking the way it looks. There, like I said, there was some craftsmanship issues, and that's why I kind of stayed away from adhesive in general in my collage work now, because when I do make those teeny tiny little errors, there's a little smear here and there, and it's really noticeable on those darker backgrounds. It's not a big deal, nothing to be upset about, and it can easily be remedied, but I can't stress it enough. Craftsmanship in collage is so important because the layperson who doesn't do collage but admires it, when they see it hanging in a gallery, they'll notice it. If you notice it, they might notice it. And little things like that really stand out. That's why I do like going into Photoshop, and I can easily take that out. I'm a little more familiar with Photoshop than I used to be, and I can fix it in Photoshop. But nonetheless, I want to minimize that kind of editing with my collage. So I am very pleased the way this fella is turning out, our July skull. Maybe that's going to be his name. We still have a little ways to go. I need to remove this area and give him a new chin. Again, I was thinking about using bits of the watch and maybe some of this wonderful pattern from up here. So I was thinking maybe this, and they're already shaped kind of like a chin because they're kind of round, and doing something like this. Not exactly, but something along those lines. And I need to be cognizant of the dark background here. We maybe want this to pop out. Maybe I want to use something brighter around the mouth because we have a lot of darkness going on in a good way. So I'm going to think about that later. I'm going to go out now and have a little fun, and I will revisit our July skull in just a bit. The dangers in leaving your collages out is when you have to deal with little kitty guys who enjoy using your desk as their bed. That's why I put my collages away every night, especially when I'm working on something as crazy as this. So this guy doesn't mess things up, but he's actually a very good studio assistant. He tries to be anyway. Okay, let's get our workstation ready. A little bit of shadow here. It's cast by a cat. He came back and is relaxing above my collage work. Not a problem. I have this finished, or do I? I want to add more to it. I did a scan of this alone. Give you a look at that, and you can decide actually which one you like best. Because I think we're going to add to this guy. I'm going to add embellishments like these on here. Give him a little more bling. I got a lot of work ahead of me, I think. Okay, let's get to it. I think we're done. What I did was I added these very tiny heads that were in a long distance shot, kind of a perspective shot, and deviated a bit from my stars. I couldn't really find any stars, or I didn't really look hard enough for stars in my ephemera. I just decided to cut out the stars that I had originally on here using a template and maintained that for the most part, and then decided to add the little heads instead of little dots of design. I think either way it would be all right, although I think the heads add, well, it's a skull, so it adds kind of a creepier feel to it, and I'm fine with that because, well, he kind of looks like a disco ball skull. Disco ball skull, is that going to be the name? I'm not sure. But I do like it. It was a lot of work, it was a lot of detail, and it took me about 2 days. And I had a lot of help from my little studio guy here. As you can see, he's taking a nap. His tail's not, but he is. And this is what we come up with. This is what we have to compare it to. I'd like to maybe do a side-by-side scan so you can see this original piece with what we came up with. In any case, thank you so much for joining me on this collage journey and watching me draw and cut and do all sorts of things. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you in the next video.